All right, we're back again. Let's see if I can screw up the intro again this week. Welcome to the OnlyFantasy NBA podcast, your source for explicit and uncensored fantasy NBA content. Woohoo! All right, my name's Dave, and I'm here with Nick.
Hi.
Shan.
What's up?
And Howie.
Back again.
So I was thinking this week, guys, if this was, like, we've had a bit of an interesting day where we had everybody playing and games kicking off every 15 minutes, and it kind of feels, with tomorrow being a completely free and empty day for the midterm elections, it kind of feels like a bit of a full stop on, say, like if this was a story, if we were telling a story of the NBA season, it'd be sort of like Act 1 is done. We've introduced all our characters and major narratives have been established, you know, like which teams are going to be successfully taking for Wembanyama and, you know, early struggles for big name teams like, you know, the Warriors, the Nets, the Lakers, the Heat. Guys like Donovan Mitchell and SGA are making a push for awards season candidacy early. We even had sort of like your classic inciting incidents in a story like Kyrie finally getting banned. So what do you think? How are you feeling about the about how the season, both fantasy and non-fantasy so far?
The season's shitting me, actually.
Shitting you? Wow, okay, interesting. Why is that?
It's hard to put my finger on exactly. I was frustrated with coaching decisions. It seems like there's a lot of fads in the NBA at the moment. I'm not a big supporter of fads. I'm more of a supporter of your Brent Barry plays 42 minutes a night, 82 games of the year, and kills it every fucking night, rather than these soft cocks who can play little bits and pieces of the game and have fucking meltdowns. And the NBA seems fraught with it at the moment.
A lot of precious cargo out there.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, 10 or 11 games in, most teams are. So you're right. It is probably the first point where we take stock, and you're either like you are, Dave, sitting on top of your league's ladder and thinking, hell yeah, somewhere down the bottom or somewhere in the middle, or where you're just trying to go, okay, that start, I'm going to ignore that. Hopefully things turn around for me.
Yeah,
is Dave on top? I thought, is he on top?
No, I'm not actually. I'm second. I just slipped behind Kerem again.
Fake news, not anymore.
Fake news, yeah.
Apologies to the king. Well done, Kerem.
Yeah.
Harold Stan.
All right, so guys, you may be surprised to know that we've got some more fan mail this week, backed by popular demand. So this first one, from a completely anonymous account on the internet. I don't think there's any reason to sort of give a name, put a name to this comment. So this first comment, he writes, "Hi guys, long-time listener, first-time caller. That's a bit fucking weird. This is a message, not a phone call, you weirdo." He writes, "Your podcast seems to have the momentum of a runaway freight train. What's the reason for your success?"
Good question.
Yeah, isn't it a great question? I thought to myself, it was
someone was bound to ask it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I thought to myself, it's probably got a lot to do with our brave willingness to stand up in the face of the Kawhi Leonard industrial complex. Tell it like it's true, like it is. What do you think, guys?
I reckon it sounds like Lisa Simpson's question during Montgomery Burns' election campaign.
I don't know what you're talking about, Nick. I got no idea. Very strange.
Look, I never thought we'd reach 13 subscribers either.
It's a major milestone, bro.
In a world full of the corrupt and the Kawhis, we're just the voice of truth for fantasy basketball.
So true, mate. Shining out in the wilderness, a beacon of light.
I actually just think it's the rest of our league listening in, trying to pick up on who our tips are so that they can undercut us.
That's probably also true.
Karen's all over it, surely.
All right, so the next message comes from some idiot called Kane Leonard, another K Leonard. "Can somebody tell that sheep rooter in New Zealand to return the fantasy basketball trophy back to Australia? The guy won the league 2 years ago and still hasn't returned it. Stop living in the past, you arsehole." I have no idea what he's talking about. Oh, Jesus Christ. I was sitting on this the entire time. I don't know where it came from. Strange that. Let me put it back in its proper spot.
It surprised me how quickly this podcast descended into an audience exclusively for other members of our league. But you know what? It's a worthy audience. If that's all that listens, well, that's fine. It's fine by me.
All right, time for news. Shan, go for it, mate.
Alrighty, news this week. So I started putting this together today and I thought, all right, I'm going to keep this really brief. And I started writing down all the injuries at the moment. And my God, it's a bit full on. So I'm going to go through these really quickly and not really elaborate too much on any of them. And then when I get to the end, you boys, if there's any of the particular ones I've raised that you want to delve into, go nuts at that point. So starting with Brooklyn, we've got the whole Kyrie situation, however you want to take that. You might believe he's coming back in another 3 games, or you might believe he's never going to play for the Nets again. And that makes a little bit of a difference, whether at the moment you've got Cam Thomas getting some minutes, and he's not much of a 9-category fantasy player, but he chucks the ball at the ring a lot and is pretty good for points league, and he would have a good role for the rest of the season if Kyrie is gone for good. Moving on to Charlotte, you've got LaMelo, who will be back any day now, so that'll be a big relief to LaMelo owners. Terry Rozier is back, so it's the end of Dennis Smith Jr., although I must say Dennis Smith Jr. played today with Rozier and kicked ass anyway, but his time in the sun is probably done, especially when LaMelo's back any day. And in Chicago, you've got Andre Drummond gone down. He's got a shoulder problem and he's not close to returning. And what's happened in his absence is Vukovic is dominating, as you'd expect. And Pat Williams is finally getting his time to see what he can do. He was a little bit of a hot prospect over the off season. And it's not like he's dominating or anything. He's getting 6 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, 10 points, and there's no real backup there at power forward. So this is his opportunity to stake his claim. Houston have still got Fernando out and Tate out. So you've seen Sengun really start to dominate in their absence, which is good because he started the season slow. And this is really Tari Eason's one chance. He'll get another chance come second half of the season, but I was more hopeful that he would just take this opportunity. But Stephen Silas, once again, does not like young players, so he's not getting his shot.
Not a fan of Japanese horror films.
Indiana, you've got Duarte out for a month, which is really interesting for Maturin. So Duarte was starting at shooting guard. Maturin was coming off the bench. He's still coming off the bench, but he's getting a lot more usage now, and I don't think Duarte's going to get that spot back. I reckon Maturin's going to run away with it.
Is that an American commentator thing, Duarte versus Duarte?
No idea how to pronounce that one.
Could be Duarte and Duarte is culturally proper.
Yeah, it could be like DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, I'm afraid, sorry, Shane, we're going to have to cancel you for that horrific, culturally insensitive pronunciation.
Sorry, Shane, I just had to say that before you got too far. You said Duarte a couple of times, and it really triggered me.
I'm pretty sure it's Duarte, yeah.
Let's not take advice from Howie on pronunciation.
Yes, it's definitely Duarte, if the commentators are correct.
Right, and then you go to LA Clippers. Kawhi could be back soon, but who the bloody hell knows? In his absence, which Howie will touch on later, no doubt, Marcus Morris is just on fuego. He's a bit useless, but he's actually ranking through the roof at the moment. So he would be hoping like hell that Kawhi remains Kawhi.
And Marcus Morris, is he the angry Morris brother, or is that the other one?
Yes.
They're both the angry Morris.
Got it.
I can't pick them apart. Like, they both just seem like massive tosses. So
that's true.
It's part of being a Morai. You are angry.
Did they get matching tattoos? Is that a thing, or is that just like an urban legend?
No, they're just identical twins, bro. They're identical.
With identical tattoos.
They came out of the womb with those identical tattoos already on them. That's part of being
utero tattooing.
In a rage. In a fucking rage. Yeah.
Then I move on to Memphis, and Jaren Jackson Jr., who I just traded for, is progressed to playing 3-on-3 with the goal of playing 5-on-5 within the next week. So maybe he'll be back before
I think you have to play 5-on-5. So that's a good step.
It is. So he'll be back. I'm hopeful November, if not very early December.
He's not back November.
we will see. Let's come back to this. Well, look, I just traded for him, so I have to believe it.
Progress to 5-on-5. You're 2, 3, 4 weeks away from taking the court, in my experience.
Well, we'll come back to that.
And he's not there yet. He's 3-on-3 at the moment. So,
Jonathan, we need to November too, Howie.
We can keep that. We can keep that receipt for later reference.
Exactly. All right. Then we've got Milwaukee, and Middleton is practicing, so he's not far away at all. And the impact there, the fantasy impact, will be the usage which he will take up. And it'll probably just take a little bit of usage away from a bunch of blokes there. Holiday's dominating. Portis is doing quite well. Oh my God, Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
Is there a player we've underrated more than him? He's just
it's just tough though, like with a guy that can block shots and hit threes, like you just don't need to do a lot, and all of a sudden and he doesn't turn the ball over, so
exactly, it's those categories, but he's killing it.
When you're a big guy, it helps when you can actually hit the free throw line pretty well too.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And then in Minnesota, Cat's got COVID again. Yeah, Cat's got COVID. No, sorry, Gobert has COVID. Gobert has COVID again, my bad, and the impact being Cat is killing it today because Gobert's out. So
there's a lot
out of the press rooms when they've
a lot of whispers around that situation. We'll see how that plays out.
What do you mean?
Well, there's thoughts that Anthony Edwards isn't a happy camper. Wasn't consulted around the Gobert trade, apparently, and he expected to be consulted. Apparently. This is a thing now. You consult, your front office is expected to consult 20-year-olds before they swing a franchise-defining trade. So
this is actually one of
the modern NBA.
You trade everything for Gobert. You get 4 games into the year, you're winning.
Yeah.
And then it's like, team's not winning by enough.
Yeah.
We're going to sit the guy we've just traded our future for. Oh, why? What the hell was Gobert, or for that matter, D'Angelo Russell, have to do with Minnesota winning, by the way? And they've blown the team up for no reason that I can see.
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
Unbelievable.
It's a very strange team. Strange characters, strange people. I don't know.
Moving on to... They not want Gobert? What's happening there?
Another team of interest to you, Howie, New York. Mitch Robinson's out with a bit of injury. He'll be reevaluated in a week, and in his absence, you've done the right thing and picked up Isaiah Hartenstein.
Oh, have I?
Though,
yeah, and then he got sent today.
Fucking hell. My God, if only Tibbs could be the coach that says, I've lost my starting center. Should I go to my awesome backup center? Nah, let's go to the third fucking stringer and give him all the minutes he can handle. What the hell is that?
Who knows? Oh.
Jericho Sims, that's what that is.
I think it was just you can hope that it's just a matchup thing for that one.
Who knows? But I mean, Hartenstein was the hottest products in fantasy basketball until the game today. Now people must be like me thinking, don't know what to think, don't know what to do.
Yeah. The Tibbs experience. And then Orlando, as I said last week, is just a bit of a disaster. There was news today that Jonathan Isaac isn't far away.
Oh, come on.
But,
yes, get up.
When I say isn't far away, it's still a few weeks until he'll be playing 5-on-5. So if your theory right is
November.
Can I ask, because I've honestly forgotten, has that guy played since COVID?
He hasn't played since the bubble, apparently. So
he played in the bubble. Right, okay.
Yeah, I think he redid his knee or something there.
So it's only 2.5 years.
Like prior to that, he had missed like a ton of games. So yeah, he hasn't got a really good track record over the last however many years.
To say the least. I feel like Orlando's moved on.
Yeah, to tie a knot through Orlando, Suggsy is back and getting his one opportunity. He sort of is alternating between good games to bloody terrible games, which seems to be a Suggs thing. And then in Philadelphia, you've got Harden out for a month. So that really just shifts all of his usage out amongst a bunch of people who are going to have a good month. And that who's that, Nick? Who's in that little group at Philadelphia?
I don't know. A lot of people don't really believe that he's got that in him, but Tobias Harris, what a gun!
Well, this is interesting. Hasn't his rank been taken a bit though? Where's he ranked? This was precisely our point. Hasn't his rank dropped with more usage and better play?
No, it's actually gone up.
Really? What's his rank?
I think he's like 15 or something off the top of my head, but yeah, his last 2 games have been freaking awesome.
The other guys who are dominating in his absence are Tyrese Maxey, Embiid killed it today, and then probably the free agent acquisition of most interest is DeAnthony Melton. But I assume in most leagues he's been picked up as that kind of guy.
And Philadelphia are winning all of a sudden. Funny about that.
And then Phoenix, you've got Cam Johnson, a huge injury this week. He's out indefinitely. So that's disappointing for Cam Johnson owners, but there's no obvious ads there to really take up his value.
Meniscus.
Portland, you've got Dame Lillard back today. Yes, needed that. And you've got Anthony Simons, who's got some foot inflammation, but he'll be back soon as well. So whoever was getting that usage while those two are out, Shaden Sharp, a bit of Nurkic, and Jeremy Grant, probably a little bit less usage for all of those guys. San Antonio, Vassell is back. Toronto's a big one as well. Siakam, he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So that's a big piece out of their rotation, probably going to be filled by Boucher, Koloko, and a bit of everyone. So
it's Boucher, Shan. It's Boucher.
Bobby Boucher, yep. Okay.
I'm going to start calling you Howie soon.
You guys don't call him Boucher, it's Boucher, is it?
Is
this
Boucher.
Because it's French Canada?
Yeah, very much. It's definitely Boucher, bro. It's definitely.
Alrighty, cool. Last team, you've got Bradley Beal with COVID again. So Beal and Gobert having repeat bouts of COVID. And there's no real fantasy winner out of Brad Beal except for the usage just sort of going everywhere at Washington. And that
Gobert
is
was the original carrier too. He was that bat that flew out of the Wuhan lab, spread it around the NBA.
touched all the microphones.
It was.
Yeah.
That's our
Patient
injuries
zero.
and news update.
Nice one. The only extra I wanted to add on was just to give a bit of a shout out to Kieran, who I've been having chats with this week, and we kind of disagree a little bit on the Kyrie situation, but he kind of believes that he's had a bit of the rough end of the stick, but at the end of the day, I think, as I said to him, and I appreciate the conversation because it allowed me to kind of coalesce my thoughts a little bit more. But he obviously was on a very short leash with a lot of people after last year, after sitting out, refusing to take the COVID vaccine shot for the entire season. And that was on top of all of the other crazy stuff that he's done in the past. I mean, yes, it might be a little bit unfair. Maybe a similar player, a different player in the same situation wouldn't have copped quite as much of a whack as Kyrie has. It is what it is. I mean, these situations aren't all egalitarian in that way. So unfortunate.
Yes.
Sorry, Kieran, and sorry, Kyrie. But you deserve
and
it.
sorry, Steve Nash. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Steve Nash,
Steve Nash
and they're
fault.
bringing in another bloke who's probably a great coach, player, but he's got issues.
Well, this is the thing. They're
They're not bringing him in, but they look like they're going to bring him in unless they get
yeah.
shouted out of the town.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty about that now. People have been apparently trying to persuade Josiah not to go there. So
They'll be
interesting
going
stuff.
after Primo to replace Kyrie because they're a bunch of complete fuckwits in terms of their decision making. So
And then Simmons comes off the bench for 16 minutes today, $40 million a year.
Yeah, Jesus.
yeah,
I mean, I think it's temporary, but who knows at this point?
Although they've won a couple of games with Kyrie out, so maybe things are trending up for them. Who knows?
And Thomas
Yep.
time.
All right, it's your time, Nick. Fantasy line of the week. Give it to us, bro.
Okay. So with the fantasy line of the week, it's kind of one of those things where I'm going to do it from November 1st through to November 6th. So I'm not including today's game, but we can obviously touch on there's about 5 or 6 really, really awesome games that were actually played today. So they'll be included in next week. Happy to kind of talk about those ones when we once we're done here with this particular segment.
I won it again.
I know. I knew you'd be happy with this one.
Look at those 3 throws.
Oh, that was the
called
first
it
thing I
too.
saw as well.
Called it.
No, look, that is
0 threes.
46 points is the thing that jumps off the page at you. But then when you take a millisecond and you see, hang on, there's 20 free throws made
Insane.
at 90%. That's multiple fantastic free throw effort games all wrapped into one. That's the equivalent, I reckon, 20 of 22. That's probably the equivalent of like a Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant type game from a points point of view. Well done to DeMar and well done to Howie again. So he's the back-to-back champion of the fantasy line of the week. And the other thing I like about DeMar is he doesn't really let you down too much in anywhere. Look, he could have got more rebounds.
3-pointers is always his thing, right? He doesn't really get a lot of those, but if you're getting the other cats filled, you can't be too unhappy with it.
DeJounte, sorry.
We're going to pull Nick up on that.
I heard somebody calling him Deontay the other night, the other pod. That's I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah,
That's deeply insulting.
Well,
I'm confused now. What's his name? Someone say it.
DeJounte.
DeJounte.
Yeah,
You got to do that in the middle.
That's
so
right.
DeJounte.
The J is kind of like it's kind of like a Portuguese J. DeJounte.
That's right. well, great. So DJ's gone all right. Oh my God. Like he's actually pulled out another game today, which won't be included in this, but it just shows he's going to be in this fantasy line of the weeks pretty much every week if I'm going to be laying out a few guys. Fantastic game there on November 3rd against New York. So he had 5 steals, 1 block, 36 points, 9 assists. He only had 4 rebounds, but he had 5 3-pointers, shot 100% from 3 free throws and just over 50% from the field. So that's pretty good.
Willing to put my hand up and say I completely misjudged him coming into this year. I thought he'd have a significant step backwards with a significantly lower usage rate, but he's playing fantastically well.
That was certainly the logic, and I feared that this might happen.
He's ranked 8.
It's insane, isn't it? So it's basically
and he's a solid
same as last year. Yeah.
There's no kinks in his thing. He's not going down. He's if anything going to be pushing up a little bit more than 8. I'm thinking to like 6 or something potentially. So.
Wait to see the impact of Bogdan Bogdanovic.
Yeah, true.
Surely they just piss off Boggs for
I would think no. Well, my assumption is that Bog just like that immediately becomes a 3-guard rotation where they just one of them sitting on the bench at all times.
Boggs. And another game there from KD. So KD's game's a little bit mundane for mine. That's just a run-of-the-mill KD line. Not too fast. If you got that in your team, you kind of raise an eyebrow just because it's KD and you're expecting a 50-point game. But I feel like I kind of had to put him in there because if his name was Jason Tatum or DeJounte Murray or one of these other blokes, you might have actually gone, hang on, this is actually really good. Or even Tobias Harris in some cases. It's a very good game, but I feel like maybe you guys might change your mind about his placement on the podium there when I put in the next one. Let me know what you think, okay?
Durant had a negative net rating as well. All the others had a positive net rating.
Well, Shai's had a couple of negative net ratings, but you know what? Oklahoma are going to have a few of those along the way.
Oh, my Lord. How the hell did Markkanen not make your top 3?
Thank you. That's what I wanted.
Look at that game against Memphis. My God.
That is a good game.
Yeah, that is special.
I dropped out before and I was basically just given a big wrap up to Lauri Markkanen while you guys were wondering what happened to me. So, yeah, I'm of the same opinion. And that's exactly what I was going for there. That's phenomenal. 4 blocks, 1 steal, 4 threes, 73% from the field. God damn, 83% from the line. No, he should definitely be on the podium there. Get stuff, KD. Get out of here.
And just to blow a bit of smoke up Dave's ass, they're just regular Shea Gilgeous-Alexander games there this season. Jesus Christ, this guy.
Yeah, they're good games.
He's so prolific from the mid-range. I just wonder whether or not he's going to have a drop-off at some point. But it just seems automatic. He does these little, moves where he doesn't seem to be moving very fast. There's nothing special. There's just a little bump at the right time, create some separation, shoot up over the top. I know he's tall-ish for a guard. He's fairly tall for a guard. He must have long limbs. He just never looks like he's about to get his shot blocked. Yeah,
it's the stocks which are just shocking the hell out of me from him. He's always been good at them, but this is outrageous.
Yeah, he had another 4 blocks today.
Yeah, so he's 6'6" for the record. So I guess that used to be a tall guard, but now it's just a guard. So Jokic has had a pretty good game. He had another good one today. So did Shea too. Shea's just having those games every day, but he hasn't had that longevity where you expect him to have these games yet.
And you fitted Tobias in there.
And then I see Tobias, yeah.
He's at the bottom of the list just because, you know what, he needs to be pumped up a little bit more. We've gone a bit hard on Tobias, and I'm going to throw him up there anytime he has a half-decent game. And look, you can't do it.
Bro, it's your segment. You can do with it as you please.
I've got to change it to
you've chosen to
Tobias Harris
Tobias propaganda into your segment. None of us can stop you from doing that. It's your segment.
Well, what's the problem with that stat line from? Let's lock in on Toby for a moment here.
Do we have to?
Yeah, just take a good hard look at it. He's got 2 turnovers. I don't know. Maybe not that many points, only 23. But apart from that, that's a solid effort. That's a solid, mate. That's a Toby game that I'm happy to have. Shan's trying to give me the wrap up. I'm telling him, nah, we're going to talk about Toby for a little bit longer. You're
Look
a
at
Philly
those
man.
lack of
Get on it.
turnovers.
I can feel our subscription numbers dropping as this continues.
I'll get him off the screen. and we'll
Bias
go on to the
Harris
next
heavy
one.
content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Like when they had a Chandler week on Friends, no one watched it.
So we're going to move on to waiver wire candidates, which is our next segment. Shan, this was
What was it?
Waiver wire candidates.
Ah,
So this is a bit of a Shan special. He suggested this in our chat this week. Shan, did you want to lead us off?
Yeah, sure. And I don't really know how everyone wants to do this. I imagine we'll just take a couple of minutes each to talk about guys who you think people should be watching who are likely to be waiver wire candidates. That'll vary whether you're talking about 10-team or 14-team leagues, but however you want to approach that's up to you. I'll jump in first, and I'll cover mine off pretty quickly. I'm going to list 4 guys who should be owned. If these guys aren't owned in your particular league, you're playing with a league of idiots, and you need to just make sure they are. So they are Bol, who's 77% owned. So by and large he is, but just check that he's
Shan, I had him on my list.
Boucher, make sure he is owned with Siakam out. He's going to have a hell of a time and perhaps revert back to the form we saw of him 2 seasons ago. And then Howie, you want to have Isaiah Hartenstein today. I'm just hoping was a blip, but with Mitch Rob out, Hartenstein, Melton, and Herb Jones. Melton because of Harden being out, and then Herb Jones is more just a feeling from me. If you have a look at his game log, start of the year, he was pretty much invisible and he wasn't doing the Herb Jones thing, which is getting steals. And the last few games, the steals seem to be back and he's even scoring a little bit. I wouldn't expect that to continue. Yeah, he's been good in previous seasons because he just carries your steals category. So if that's back, he's a guy. And then I got 3 more guys to finish it off on. These are guys who are far less owned. And they're more shots in the dark, but that's what you got to do in competitive leagues. Those 3 guys are Larry Nance, Pat Williams, and Tari Eason for a variety of reasons.
He was my other guy, Tari.
Yeah. Yeah. So Larry Nance has been really good of late and he's eating into Jonas Valanciunas' minutes. He's finishing games for the Pels, and Larry Nance is just one of those across the board contributors where you get a lot of steals from your center. Hurt himself a little bit today, but he's worth a look. I could definitely change my mind on these 3 guys in about 2 games time, but these are the 3 I've got my eyes on. Pat Williams. The reasons I talked about before, I think this is his opportunity while Andre Drummond is out. Not that Andre Drummond was starting, but I think he's just going to get his load of minutes and we'll finally get to see whether he's got a fantasy game in him. And Tari Eason, I probably should have dropped him off the list after today. He was pretty terrible. But I don't think he's terrible. I think it's more about his coach. Just he's not going to give him more than 18 minutes. It's a very deep...
Oh, Greenback.
What's that? Yes, Baron Greenback.
Yeah.
Baron Silas Greenback.
So maybe if you're in a really deep league, have a go at Tari Eason, because when he gets his opportunity, he's just a statistics magnet. So that's my waiver wire watch. Anyone want to jump in with theirs?
Yes, please, before the rest of my guys get picked.
Yeah, doing the same thing.
I'll double up on Bol just quickly. Like 77%. That means he's available in a quarter of standard leagues. What the fuck are you people doing? Honestly, Isaiah Hartenstein.
Is this section waiver wire pickups or waiver wire have been picked up?
No, waiver wire candidates. Waiver wire candidates, bro.
Right.
So Hartenstein, rostered in 63% of leagues. Now, the only thing I want to add onto that is that he was obviously benched today. So you might be able to, you might see him hitting the waiver wires after today's effort. So keep an eye out. Guy I wanted to raise is Trey Murphy, only 47% rostered, which is ridiculous to me. Look, there's a few of these guys that I want to throw up here, and they're all basically of a similar profile. A lot of them are getting value from efficiency, very low turnovers, and it's a little bit of fool's gold, low turnovers. Now, I suspect a lot of people drop Trey Murphy due to Brandon Ingram returning from concussion protocols, but I reckon he's played well enough to carve out a significant slice of minutes, and I don't think he needs a lot of minutes to be playable. And He hits threes. He doesn't do a lot wrong. I think he's definitely still rosterable. 47% seems extremely low to me. And so the next two, basically the same kind of situation. KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Lonnie Walker, both around about 55% rostered, similar stat profile, getting a lot of their value from efficiency, from low turnovers. They hit threes, they get you some points. Lonnie Walker is a little bit sexier. The Hitler-loving shooting guard for the Lakers. He's one of the few players on the Lakers roster who brings energy to the court, I think, which makes him valuable for the Lakers. And I think that almost guarantees his minutes and shots. Howie might be able to throw in a little bit of info on that. But my sense is that Lonnie is important in that starting lineup. And so I think he's locked in for the foreseeable future. And if he gets the minutes, he's gonna jack the shots up. He's going to hit threes. He's going to average around 15, 16 points a game. And that makes him into definitely playable, rosterable fantasy prospect. KCP is just one of those boring-ass guys that is constantly going to be hitting the waiver wire as his owner gets bored with him and cuts him. You can always pick him up in any given week of the fantasy season, and he'll rank you. He'll hit a ranking in around about 70-ish. Just like clockwork. That's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So that's me. Who's next?
Yeah, I'm running out of names myself, but I do have a couple. Lonnie Walker, just picking up from what Dave said. The other factor there is, guess what? LeBron's got a sprained ankle. So Lakers are 2-8. Two things suggest to me will happen in the fullness of time with that. LeBron's ankle will suddenly become something he can't play through as well. And before long, they'll be thinking, LeBron doesn't need to play at all. Last year, he was ankle sprain. He kind of shut down with about 9 games left. Lonnie Walker is the obvious guy that will put the ball in his hands in the event that Davis and LeBron sit. LeBron sat today, as did Lonnie Walker, and the Lakers really missed his presence. So I agree with that. The other two I have that haven't been mentioned, one is Walker Kessler. He's playing very limited minutes. I don't have his ownership stats. They can't be high. He's playing sort of 16 minutes per game.
I'll look him up for you.
Yeah, you got
20%, I think.
20%. But here's the thing. 60+% from the field. I think his free throw is in the low to mid 70s.
18% rostered.
There's no points or boards to speak of just yet. There is blocks. There's 1.5 blocks per game from a guy getting no minutes. That's just a sign of what could happen if he pushes even 19, 20, 21 minutes. Definitely ownable in 14 and 12 team if he gets to 19, 20 minutes and he starts to become approaching ownable in 10 team if those blocks head north of 1.8 blocks per game. And my third guy is Poku. He's very inefficient. He's on a crazy team where they don't play guys consistently very much. But Poku had moved into about 26 minutes per game in his last 3 games. Any player in fantasy that gets threes and blocks has the potential to be a high-ranking player. He's getting 1.6 blocks per game over his last 3. That's a watch for me as well. His ownership couldn't be much more than about 30% either, I wouldn't have thought.
Hey, Nico?
Fair call. I'll take the scraps. So I haven't got much left. It's a little bit sexier than bloody KCP, but not very much. Malik Monk is the guy. Now, look, he's in a little bit of a battle with one of my guys that I've got on my team in the Big Ginge, Kevin Huerta. Yeah, so, and I really like what
Is it Huerta or is it Huerta?
I'm going to go Huerta.
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 Or we could just call him Herter.
Very Aussie Herter.
The Hurt Locker is actually, he's been playing really well. He's obviously the preference for me because Malik's on our waiver wire and Huerta's on my side. So I'm hoping that Kev can win that battle. But the last couple of games, I've noticed that Huerta has been pretty bad. And Malik Monk's been really good. Now Malik's played 28 and 30 in the last 2 games, 24 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds, a steal, 3 threes, 100% from 7 free throw attempts in his last game. The game before that was kind of similar, not quite as good. So for a bloke that is currently owned in 21% of teams out there, that's some pretty good value. And I don't think I'm really I'm not kind of enlightening anyone on this guy because he does this, right? So he comes in and he plays 5 or 6 games in a row and you're like, hey, this guy's going to be sweet for about 2 weeks. and then he's going to be shit for the rest of the year. He might come in for another week period or so. But right now, if I needed someone, particularly if I needed threes and maybe some of those, I don't know, yeah, just a bit of everything kind of guys, yeah, throw him on your team. It'd be good. 21% of you guys have got him, so, he's doing something.
It seems to me that this is just another lesson in why you down value or reduce the value of turnovers in your initial projection lists, because all of the guys at this time of the season that are highly ranking that are available on the waiver wire, they're all low turnover guys.
There's an important point to that, Dave. I agree with you when you're doing your preseason draft and working out how much of value guys you should down value turnovers, but it's for this reason. It's because you want these are the guys who are playable and are gettable throughout the season. So if I've overloaded with your James Hardens and your turnover getting guys on my team, if I can fill up, say, 3 guys on the court who are just ranking high because of turnovers, that's how you get a good balance as a team.
It's kind of what I was saying, but sure. Yeah, cool. All right, moving on. Fuck you, Shed. So, irrationally strong opinion. Do we want to do anything else?
Can I just add a bit of love for my man, the Iron Man, Miles Turner?
Oh, Jesus, he had a big game today.
It's not really a segment that really fits in with this, but
Is he available on the waiver wire? Shit,
I gave him some serious shade, like in the first pod that we did. I don't know whether we ballsed up the recording, whatever, but or maybe it was the second one. I don't know. It
was the second one. Yeah, we got your thoughts on.
Good. Yeah. I ripped him a little bit, and I'm sorry, Miles. You're a very tough man.
Taking it all back.
I'm not taking it all back. I'm just kind of talking him up because someone might be interested in a trade.
Don't be a flip. This is election season. Don't be a flip flopper, Nick. You got to stand strong on your opinions, bro.
Did you see him today? 37 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks, 4 threes, 61% and 100.
Monster.
I also, before we move, I wanted to give a bit of a shout out. Shan, you mentioned during a segment that will no doubt be edited out that our friend Zion Williamson hit a couple of threes today. I just wanted to give a shout out to a friend of ours, Mr. Bock, who's been in contact this week. He was not happy at all about our Zion Williamson hot takes in the last episode. So, Bock, there you go. Bit of love for Zion, Bock.
Don't forget the steals and blocks he got as well to completely stick it up, you boys.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we deserve it. All right.
Zion's time to eat.
Zion's time to eat. Oh, God. Did you see that story today where he was talking about how much it hurts him? It hurts his mental health to have people constantly looking at his weight and kind of talking about it and stuff. I think that's sad. We need to be better than that, guys. We got to be better than that. It's still funny. All right.
I'm sure his $1 million will console him.
Irrationally strong opinion, and it's mine this week. And I'm continuing the pile on onto Kyrie. Now, look, this is not exactly an unpopular opinion to dunk on Kyrie at the moment. I understand that, but I'm going in a slightly different tack. And the guys here will be able to attest that I've been on this for a long time. This is not about his off-court idiocy. It's about his on-court effectiveness. He's just not a very good basketball player. Just straight up. Basketball is a 5v5 game. It's not a single-player game. I genuinely hate the circle jerking over his talent from current and past players. We all love the acrobatic layups, the tight handle, the smooth shooting stroke, and that's just very sexual stuff. But look, he's consistently made his teams worse. The original Cavs were absolutely awful, and we were expected to see them to start trending up with all of the talent, the young draft picks and talent that they acquired, and they were awful until LeBron arrived. We'll talk about the LeBron era in a little bit. He moved to the Celtics. Celtics went to the Western Conference Finals without him when he was injured. And when he came back, he destroyed the team. The entire thing fell apart. The Nets have been an absolute disaster since he got there. He's consistently made his teams worse. As a point guard, he can't run plays effectively unless they're designed for him to take the shot. He fails to make his teammates better on court consistently. His defense varies from average to absolutely awful depending on how much he cares, and he doesn't tend to care a hell of a lot. His only period where he was an above average and effective basketball player was during that stretch with the Cavs, and they limited his exposure on offense. They took the ball out of his hands largely. LeBron would run plays. He would, stand in a corner or be, option 1A on the play, or they would just clear out and give him the ball and let him run his superhero ISO 1v1 stuff, which he loves and he's really effective and good at. But the thing is, he forced his way out of that team because he wants to be the man. He wanted to be a point guard with the ball in his hands, and he thinks he's a great leader. He thinks that he wants to be able to elevate his team and prove that he is a great leader. But he's shown himself to be consistently to be a locker room cancer. So guys,
I agree. You remember seeing that footage of LeBron and Kyrie on the bench in Cleveland, and he just looked like a petulant little kid that had just been caught doing something naughty, and your parent, whatever, teacher's trying to help him learn and become a better person / basketball player / teammate, and he was just staring off into nothing like a little bitch.
I think if he would accept his limitations as a basketball player, he could be extremely effective. If he played as a shooting guard, he played primarily as an executor, of the final shot on offense. The shooting guard, not the guy with the ball in his hands executing plays. He would be significantly more effective.
I cut out and missed some of that, but I'll let Howie jump in first. Do you have any take on Dave's take?
Well, I mean, the segment is irrationally strong opinion, so it fulfills. I think Kyrie's a good player. I think he's a really talented player.
He's certainly talented. Not disagreeing with that.
Much of what Dave says, I think there's some truth in the matter. I'm well known for not being a fan of Harden for many of the reasons, similar reasons that Dave mentions. So I can relate on that front. I don't know where to go from here. I think there's some truth to a lot of it. I also think he's a really, really, really good player. I think his problem is his off-court antics. He doesn't really prioritize the game. He's more interested in people thinking he's smart for some reason.
He wants to be
basically says no one could think that.
He wants to be a great leader of the human race is what he wants to be. He wants to be this sort of godlike
Muhammad
figure.
Ali.
He wants to be Muhammad Ali. It's interesting that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has been really vocal in criticising him over the last couple of weeks because Kareem is basically the guy that Kyrie thinks that he is.
Have you seen his merch, the Kyrie merch?
Oh, is it all Illuminati kind of shit?
Yeah, his merch is a fuckhead as well. It's out of this world. And there's a pair of Kyrie shoes, and there won't be any more Kyrie shoes, of course.
Yeah.
I've shown you this picture of the pink Kyrie shoes with little flowers on them and shit. Did anyone see that Simpsons episode where Homer gets to design a car and he puts bubbles and all these little bells? That's what the shoes look like. It's like Homer's bubble car.
Were they the SpongeBob kind of color?
I don't know, dude.
Yeah,
but they're fucking
weird color.
They've got flowers embossed on them. They are a nightmare.
So I don't think any of us would argue the criticism of Kyrie in terms of his leadership. We're all sort of consensus there. That's not your irrational take. Your irrational take, Dave, and I agree with the thesis, is this individualism versus basketball as a team sport sort of angle. And Kyrie just epitomizes that. Give me the ball, I'm going to dribble the hell out of it. Very much like Harden, how he's right. Harden's become more of a distributor. It's more of that creating gravity and creating open shots for others as he's aged. But I agree, Kyrie's the epitome of this. I'm not sure his skills are through perhaps one of the most skillful players of our lifetime, but whether that translate to good team basketball and wins, I like your thesis. I'd probably have to see more of a deep dive on his team's win-loss with and without him I reckon it'd be really, really interesting, and you might be right.
Would you want to play with him? That's the thing. If you imagine these basketball players, would you want to be on the road, on planes, and practice sessions with this nutbag? You're going to enjoy yourself, or you're going to be losing your mind just trying to not lose your job because you've just had a beef with the franchise guy. So
you'd be constantly having to handle his shit, navigate your way around whatever is going on in Kyrie's head for the day. All right, anything else on Kyrie? I think we've dumped on him a fair bit.
I think we're all over Kyrie, and so are the Brooklyn.
All right, I think I've said enough about Kyrie. I'm going to leave him. I'm going to leave him alone.
Just thank God the Lakers didn't get him. Just thank God the Lakers didn't get him.
Fair
With everything happening at the Lakers, just imagine we had Kyrie as well, and we traded 2 first-round picks to get him.
If you had Kyrie and LeBron was on the same side, LeBron would be furious. He'd probably be pulling that ripcord saying, mate, it's time for load managing LeBron. I don't want to be around this dickhead.
All right, guys. So we're moving on to tanking teams. There were two that we didn't get to last week. Who wants to go first?
Okay, San Antonio Spurs. So when we were originally talking about taking teams last week, it was just before this Toronto game here that I'm highlighting. So I was a little bit sheepish about it, but I'm feeling quite more confident in my selection now since they've dropped 3 in a row. So what are they, 5-5 now? After a pretty good start. Same with Utah, but Utah just keep going and going and going. So yeah, look, they had some early wins. Philadelphia are going to be a good side. Minnesota are still figuring some stuff out after their Gobert injection. So that's 3 of their wins just against those 2 guys, 3 of their 5 wins, early stages. You always see it. Like sometimes it's a good time to play a team, and it's a good time to play Philadelphia nice and earlier this season, and probably the same with Minnesota too. So possibly be even worse than they are when you look at the teams that they're playing
Jeez,
against.
they played Minnesota 3 times.
It's been really, really strange like that. But they've got a team. You have a look at the court there where we've got their kind of their depth chart. So I mean, they got J Rich and Forgy. They got a bunch of blokes here that aren't going to do a lot. I mean, you got Devin Vassell, Josh Richardson, Keldon Johnson. Look, I can't see them actually doing anything. So I did a little bit of research in this. So I've got a picture of Pop there just on the left. So having a bit of a think back to his glory days when he's looking at the bench, he's got load management Sally there. He's got Tony Parker. He's got Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili there. So what he would give for those guys. And I reckon he can get a guy that has got the potential to be right up there with those names in the Big Vic. So I reckon he's got his eyes on the prize, and he's going to be throwing everything he can towards getting a better draft pick. Last time they had a good draft pick was when they got Tim Duncan. So Greg Popovich came to the Spurs as their head coach in 1996. Tim Duncan was drafted in 1997. Did he come in and see the writing on the wall and go, holy shit, we've been really good, but I've actually got a team that's not going to do that well? And I reckon he's actually possibly thinking about doing a similar thing here to get Vic on the side. So, look, that'd be really cool. I mean, I'd love to see him actually play in the San Antonio Spurs offense. As much as I've trashed them, I think like under Popovich, we know what they can do. So I'm hopeful that it pans out like this. What have they got? They've got a little tank here down the bottom with Greg's driving it. You can see he's shot a couple of L's out there. He's shot out Danilo. He's shot out DeJounte. He's about to run over Josh Primo, and his eyes are on the prize there.
I like it.
To me, they're in the prime position to do what they did back in 1996 and tank the shit out of it and get a guy that's going to change their franchise. So they're going to do everything they can to make sure that they get a good chance at him.
It's a bold call because they're currently in position of about 10th or 11th pick in the draft. So as it currently stands, they'd have to really start playing bad for that to happen. So it's interesting. I wonder what everyone else thinks.
Well, they've got a lot of flexibility when it comes to their cap space. They're only got committed salary of $75 million at the moment. The most obvious candidate, I think, is Pirtle, and he's only making under 10 mil this season. So that's a very tradable contract, and I could definitely see them taking on something bloated in order to, stock up at an additional draft pick or two. They're committed to the tank now, and Pirtle is helping them win too many games. I could see him going.
Yep.
Keldon Johnson, somebody like that as well. Keldon's, that big body, effective and productive forward. I could see them shipping him out. Look, they're going to have to make some cuts to these effective, hard-playing players if they truly want to commit to the tank.
Yeah.
At the moment, they're just a little bit too good.
Yep, agreed.
I take the other side of that. I think you can sometimes read too much into the small sample size and early games in the season. Teams get motivated and play hard. I don't think this team's going to get a lot more wins going forward. I think the only player there they might trade would be Pirtle. They're definitely not going to trade their other 2 stars, that being Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell, because they're going to fit this age profile going forward. I think they're going to tank without them. So really the question becomes, is Pirtle going to get them more wins going forward? I don't think they're there yet. He's 28? 29, so movable piece. So he would be the guy. So if you're thinking about fantasy implications, there really isn't a center behind him who jumps up.
I mean,
Yeah.
he hits threes. We love centers that hit threes. He can block some shots. If he gets if he gets the time and the usage, and like literally, there's nobody else to take shots on this roster at that point.
Well, there's your guy, I suppose.
There's a pretty good
Sort of
center
radar
who
kind of
hits
guy.
frees on the radar there. I think they'll be right up the top with the guys that are trying to get him.
I shouldn't have let Nick go first because he smashes us with the visuals, and mine's quite unprepared in comparison. But let's see how we go. So I'm doing the Indiana Pacers, who I definitely think are going to be in the Wembanyama sweepstakes. I'm not a general believer. I think tanking gets misunderstood by a lot of people, how they think that happens. I don't think there are really, there's definitely not players who are ever instructed to not go out there and play their hardest. And I'm a Philadelphia fan, so I know tanking. Whether there are coaches who are instructed you are to not win games, I think is more likely, but still unlikely. Where tanking happens is the management decisions about trades and about if anyone's got a sniffle, they are going to be not playing that day. So that's more where I think tanking impacts fantasy. It's going to be if they get any little niggle, that guy's going to be rested. So I think tanking gets overplayed in general. So in a fantasy draft, I'm usually not scared off by the prospect of tanking. There are rare exceptions like OKC, who Dave, I think you covered last week. I was a little bit scared of Shea Gilgeous for that reason. So that all said, how do I think tanking might manifest for the Indiana Pacers? It'll be that if anyone is got the slightest injury, they'll be gone. But there's one other impact with the Pacers. Miles Turner is in the last year of his contract and then he's unrestricted. So they'll be asking them the question, what can we get for him? So I reckon it's just a matter of time until he gets traded. It's been rumored for years and has not happened. So I can understand people saying it may not happen, but I reckon for that reason, it's going to happen. It's a question of when.
There's no incentive really not to trade him because he's made it clear that he's not going to re-sign with them. He will be moving on at the end of the year.
And there was a story in the last week where he pretty much told people, you should be trading for me, I believe.
Yeah, he's put the call out for sure.
This is the thing. These teams, they've been claiming they've been stalking the Lakers, waiting for the perfect time. The perfect time's passed. Why would anyone give up a lot of resources for him now? They can just wait.
Yeah.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. These teams act like they're being smart. That's some of the dumbest fuckery I've ever heard in my life. He was worth something a year ago. What is he worth now? Seriously, if they trade him the next week, yes, and they're not going to. They're going to wait till the deadline when teams are 6 weeks away from being able to sign him for free. Oh, that's just botched. If what you're saying is right, Shannon, you probably are right. Nightmare. They'll probably just end up sitting guys when they get little tweaks.
It's difficult to know unless you're inside the four walls of the team. When they made that decision, like they may have still been thinking, the trade for Halliburton and then pairing him with Turner and what's his name, Brogdon, and that might have been good enough for them to make a push. They're in that situation where they're a relatively small market. They don't have a lot of income relative to other teams, and there's been that that talk in the past that they're reliant on playoff appearances, winning games, generating crowds. Otherwise, they start to get in financial straits. So it's difficult to know when they made that decision to commit to the tank, and that could have led to some of the mistakes that you're talking about. I think, Hauser.
I mean, they're playing quite well, and not only that, the cat's coming at me. They're not only playing quite well, they've got the two guys on the trade block are both playing really well. And the talk has been it's to boost their value, but I don't know, like the Lakers are not going to be willing buyers anymore, I don't think. We're shit for 1, 2, and 8, and Westbrook's playing well. So the process for the Lakers, the most likely thing is that they'll just wait it out. This so-called holding Lakers to ransom, it's fucking backfired on about 6 different teams. I was thinking the same thing with Nick was talking about the Spurs. The Spurs were going to eat Westbrook's salary, and they were going, oh, Lakers, you've got to give us a lot more than that. Well, now they just have to hold on to their incomes because they're not going to be able to offload them anymore. And I always said this. I always said this is not the one-way street people are pretending it is.
Yeah, fair
Alrighty.
enough.
Well, I've been wrong before. I'm wrong quite often, but I'll be shocked if I'm wrong about Miles Turner being moved. I'm pretty confident he'll be moved.
Yeah, me
To
too.
bring this conversation back to fantasy impact on the Pacers, they've got 4 fantasy relevant players in Halliburton, Heald, arguably Jalen Smith and Miles Turner, and then you've got 2 more sort of fringy guys in Mathurin and Isaiah Jackson.
Yeah.
So they're really the 6 sort of fantasy relevant guys at the moment. The impact that I could see happening, Halliburton, I'm not concerned at all. Maybe he gets rested in the last month if it really gets into a dogfight for those picks. So I would just ride the Halliburton wave. If a good trade offer comes up, move him. Heald, I reckon he'll get moved, but I guess his value could go down if he gets moved because he is in an ideal situation at the moment where he's getting this prime role. He's just smashing it at the moment.
True. The one thing I'd add to that, though, is Buddy Hield is significantly older than most people think because he came out after 4 years of college.
That's right.
He's almost 30 years old. So he needs to. I think he's probably at that point in his career where he would be keen to get himself on a contender.
Sure, and I do think he'll be traded. I have some disagreement with what Howie was saying. I do think Indiana are showcasing Heald and Miles Turner. They're giving them everything at the moment. So I could see those 2 guys. Don't get me wrong. I think they're still going to be those same 2 players elsewhere. Perhaps just the ever so slight regression for both of them if they go to a less ideal situation. If Heald goes, his usage will either go to, how do you say Duarte or Mathurin. One of those guys, I think it'll be Mathurin. So Mathurin's the guy you want to have in terms of fantasy impact at the moment, the guy whose value is not incredibly high, but it's probably just going to get more and more this year. So there's that. Jalen Smith, I'm not concerned about at all. I don't think they're going to move him. I think if anything, his value is probably going to increase, especially if Miles Turner gets moved. So just to bring it all together, there's 2 guys whose fantasy value might change due to tanking on this team, and that's Mathurin and Isaiah Jackson. So Isaiah Jackson getting the starting center role and Mathurin taking the starting shooting guard role. And that's my tanking impact on the Pacers.
Nice, I like it.
Is that another Jalen Smith? Is that the new John Smith of the NBA?
Might be. There are a lot of Jalens and there are a lot of Smiths, so yeah.
And they're all named after Jalen Rose. He was the first Jalen.
Sure, yeah. That makes
Really?
complete
How long
sense.
ago was the Fab Five? If we're talking Jalen Smith's 22 years old.
Oh no, Jalen Smith, Jalen Rose tells this story, and he claims it's true.
He started the trend. Well, fair enough.
I could define it.
All right, guys. One final segment, and this is the first time that we're doing this one. Handing it over to Howie for Kawhi Watch. Howie.
Another exciting edition of Kawhi Watch.
Yep.
So Kawhi Leonard, everyone needs to get a bit of perspective on this guy. He's currently out to rest his surgically repaired knee.
Yeah.
So he needs more rest.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, clearly. Yeah.
Because he hasn't had enough rest over the last little while.
He was busy rehabbing, bro.
The problem is they haven't managed his load properly, Dave. He hasn't had his load managed properly. The load he's been given has been just way, 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 way too much for him over the last 3 years. So I mean, it's not even an injury. My concern is, and I mean this really earnestly, is that it? Maybe he's done. Like, seriously, this is year 3 of limited minutes, limited games, and he's more injured than ever. So that's it, right? He's won his championships in Toronto and San Antonio. He's done. Clippers, pack it all up, guys. You don't even have the player anymore. He's going to be a limited resource for the rest of his career, unless some miracle occurs and he goes, oh, shit, maybe my career is not going to last forever. Maybe I do have to be on the court trying to play. Because he wasn't playing when he was
scenery. Change of scenery?
I don't know. I wouldn't want him. I mean, he's just not going to be on the court, is he? I mean, it's clear at this point.
I reckon he's got a pretty good gig in the Clippers if he doesn't have to play that much.
Fantastic. It's the best gig in the world. He gets to live in LA and not play basketball and earn millions upon millions of dollars. And, you know, what's that quote from you? That's him, isn't it? I'm a nice guy.
Fun guy.
Fun guy. Yeah, he's a
Fun guy.
Fun guy. He's a fun guy. And I
Yeah.
don't doubt it. I don't doubt it for a second. He's got lots of time on his hands, for example.
Yeah.
So if you were friends with Kawhi Leonard, you could expect to see him a lot.
I bet his entire entourage is having a lot of fun.
And
I love it.
That's the first edition of Kawhi Watch.
Nice, I like it. All right, let's wrap it up. Anything else, lads, before we say adieu?
All good.
Right.
Just again apologising to Miles Turner.
And Zion Williamson.
And Zion Williamson. And Mr. Bock.
I'm not apologising to Zion Williamson. I'll apologise to Bok for offending his boy, but I'm not apologising to Zion Williams. He needs to do
He
more of
deserves
that.
it. All right. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe and give us a comment, and we will see you next week.
Yeah.